Nigeria grapples with several security challenges that directly impact its economy, ranging from insurgency to conflicts between farmers and herders, to organized crime, looting, and also abduction for ransom. Now, these security threats not only undermine the national stability and the rule of law, but also has adversely affected its economy and the way of life of its people. Well, joining me at this time to discuss this is Emmanuel Owubiko, is the National Coordinator of HURIWA. He joins virtually from Abuja. I also have joining me Professor Sheriff Folarin, is a Professor of International Relations. He joins from the United States, precisely Texas. Gentlemen, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
All right, let me start off with you, Mr. Owubiko. There is a statement that, of course, has been made available to us, where you strongly, your group, HURIWA, strongly condemned the president, for lack of strategy, particularly in tackling insecurity in the country. Now, with strong reference to the recent, which you have described as a political move, where we saw this Minister for State of Defense, Dr. Bello Matawalle, and other security chiefs, in Sokoto, basically to address the insecurity in the country. Now, let me just read part of the things you said in that statement. You said, or HURIWA said, it said there is no excuse for the president to continue appointing incompetent military leaders where there are qualified generals across various ethnic groups that can lead the country out of security quagmire. You also said that that move is more of a political ploy. I'd like to start off with you first on your reaction to that and your statement before we get into the crux of the issues.
Thank you very much. We at the Human Rights Writers Association of Nigeria, we feel convinced that the current administration is not fundamentally different from the immediate past colossally failed administration of Muhammad Buhari that doesn't seem, to have any winning strategy militarily against terrorists. They fought for 8 years. There was no movement, no positive movement. Rather, what happened was that we saw a multiplication of armed non-state actors all over the place, including Northwest. The entire Northwest has been taken over by bandits, terrorists, all kinds of armed non-state actors. And most recently, in the last couple of hours, we read in the press that the president, who is not even in Nigeria as I speak, he has been in China for a so-called African meeting with the Chinese people. And the terrorists in Zamfara State took hold of two, military hardware vehicles of the Nigerian army. And everybody saw how they displayed those captured military hardwares in Zamfara State, and they set them in place. And we also got a confirmation from the military force headquarters, the defense headquarters, actually admitting that the pictures we saw on the video were not fake, that they're real pictures. But what happened was that those military vehicles were demobilized by the retreating soldiers. What does that tell you? A few days ago, we also got information from the defense headquarters admitting that the army withdrew from a section of Niger State where it has been reported that terrorists invaded those communities, and the Nigerian army, the defense headquarters admitted that actually the Nigerian army withdrew because they do not have sufficient weapons to confront the terrorists, and that they are going to come back, very strong. We don't know if they have come back because that was like 3 days ago, and only for Nigerians to now wake up to see how a bunch of terrorists in Zamfara State captured some military hardwares. And this is very, very unfortunate. And the only reaction we got from the government is that they have dispatched some personalities, including the minister, who is a civilian, Minister of State for Defense. They have also dispatched the Chief of Defense Staff, and that they're going to coordinate the the counter-terrorism in that section of the country from Sokoto State. This is just a political, political stunt. It doesn't make any sense to anybody.
All right.
You don't have to send people who are not going to make any positive impact to anywhere. And you tell Nigerians, it's just a media propaganda. It's not going to work.
All right.
He said, this is not how to fight terrorists. You don't fight terrorists by coming on the media to spread propaganda and you could wink the members of the public. And what has it brought? General Buhari experimented with the same kind of system that is not meant to work by saying he has dispatched with the chief of army staff and the rest of them to Borno State to coordinate the counter-terror war. What did you see? We eventually saw that rather than contain the terrorists in Borno State, the terrorists further expanded into other jurisdictions that they were not hitherto in existence. And there were new kinds of terrorists, including those who are specialized in kidnapping Nigerians from the entire Southwest, entire Northwest.
Okay.
The entire Northwest is no longer, is a no-go area.
Okay.
You can't travel to Sokoto by road from Kaduna or travel to Kaduna, travel to Zamfara from Abuja by road.
Okay.
Without getting kidnapped, except if you're very lucky. People are just traveling now by law.
I'm sorry, Mr. Owubiko. Let me leave you for a moment. Let me bring in Professor Folarin into the conversation right now. Now, Professor, Nigeria has been at, in this for quite some time. And we have seen efforts, monies have been spent, service chiefs, and military personnel have been replaced. We've seen administrations come and go, but the problem still persists. My question to you is this, sir. Where are we getting it wrong?
Thank you very much, Dakwo. Nigeria has been struggling with this problem for 13 years, actually. I think it reared its ugly head from 2010 when we had that bomb blast at the Eagle Square area. And then 2011, it kicked off, fully. And then for the past 13 years, like you have rightly mentioned, we have had successive administrations that have not been able to tackle the problem. I cannot agree more with HURIWA, who's person has just spoken, Mr. Emmanuel. He has hit the nail on the head. But you see, it goes deeper than that. You see that we saw a video that trended not too long ago, a viral video of a soldier in uniform speaking in Hausa, and making some allegations, very serious allegations against his own military high command. Now, if that video is verified and it is asserted that the young man is indeed a soldier in the Nigerian army, then we can begin to trace the problem to those things that he identified. He said something very significant. He said that the soldiers are ready. They have got all it takes. They've got, the mindset, psychologically built up, to fight terrorists, to fight bandits and all of that. But that they've not gotten a very strong military leadership, a decisive one that is going to give them the go-ahead to do it, and that will make it happen. Because these small guys will not be the ones to begin to do the logistics for attacking. It will be the high command, it will be the central command, and it will be their immediate, supervisors and commanders and the rest of it. But if they don't get the go-ahead, how will they get it right? So that's one dimension, that's one theory. But let's look at other theories that explain Nigeria's intractable security challenge. You see, I have a couple of theories: political, I have, religious, I have economic, and then, of course, I have security theory itself, securitization and the rest of it. Now, in terms of political theories, you'll see that sometime in the middle of the 1990s, General Sani Abacha did say that if insecurity, goes beyond 24 hours, if a particular state of security goes beyond 24 hours, government has a hand in it. That is part of the political, strand in terms of explaining Nigeria's intractable problem of insecurity. Then, sometime in 2013 or 2014, a civilian president, President Goodluck Jonathan, said he frontally attacked members of his cabinet and said, look, I know that there are some of you here who are agents of, you either hobnobbing with Boko Haram, or you are kind of aiding and abetting them and giving them some kind of escape route here and there, and we are not able to actually have a grip on these guys, that's part of the political strand. And then you also recall that, a couple of, times we've had some persons being accused, of hobnobbing with Boko Haram. Some persons even in the legislature, particularly even in the upper chamber of the legislature. I will not mention names, but you have got the names, that they were actually kind of, they were going between for Boko Haram and some other guys in government during the Jonathan administration era, and so on and so forth. We also had allegations of people trying to kind of sabotage the government of Goodluck Jonathan for political reasons. That is, they wanted to see to it that the ruling party would have been thoroughly smeared, so that in the next elections, the opposition party could take, central control and things like that. Well, so many theories politically. Now, there is this religious dimension of it. We've had cases of persons coming up during the Jonathan administration, during the Buhari administration, people that, shamelessly, to everybody's astonishment, came out and said, look, the way you guys are attacking Boko Haram and attacking these bandits is like, it's a deliberate move to kind of decimate the Muslim population. It's a deliberate move to see to it that, maybe the Christian administration, so to speak, led by Jonathan, or probably some kind of Christian elements who are in the military, they were deliberately destroying or decimating the Muslim population in the north. And so that things should be done carefully and stuff like that. People that were supposed to be rational in thinking, they were supposed to join hands with the states to fight this insecurity, which is a common problem. They came up and were defending, they were putting religious, coloration to it. And that would make it very difficult. We also had cases of military generals. We've had some reports here and there, sometimes verified, sometimes not verified, that some military generals or commanders and so on and so forth were trying to get the back.
Professor Folarin, we will definitely pick up from there. I understand that we need to go on a quick commercial break. When we return, of course, we will continue. Do stay with us. Many thanks for staying with us. This is still Politics HQ on News Central Television. Tonight, at this moment, we are examining the security situation in Nigeria. I still have my guest with me. Emmanuel Owubiko is the National Coordinator of HURIWA. He joins virtually, and I also have Professor Sheriff Folarin. He's a Professor of International Relations. He also joins virtually from the United States. Gentlemen, thank you for your time. All right, let me go to you, Mr. Owubiko. There is an interesting report by SBM Intelligence, which of course was released and of course made available to us, and it was conducted recently, a 3-year analysis of fatalities across geopolitical zones. I hope that graphics, might be able to come up on screen. Now, from that report, it has it that the most affected locations when it comes to particularly abduction in the country is the Northwest and the North Central. And according to that report, about 135 incidents have occurred, 3,277 cases of kidnapping, and also 125 deaths. There you have that analysis there. The most affected regions, North Central and Northwest. My question to you is this: why does it appear that that part of the country, even though we know that, yes, insecurity is rife, across the nation, why is it that part of the country that seems to be affected the most? Why is it a hotbed?
Yeah, thank you very much. The professor who lives in USA seems to be even more knowledgeable about Nigerian situation, more than even a lot of Nigerians who live in Nigeria, who do not even care about what is going on. So everything he analyzed there are true. Let me even shock you the more. Remember Kabiru Sokoto was the terrorist who bombed the Catholic Church in Madala. Madala is just not too far away from where I'm speaking. I'm at the Abuja municipal area. So he bombed the Madala Catholic Church alongside other terrorists from Boko Haram. And when the army were looking for him, where did they get him? They got him at the governor's lodge, Borno State Governor's Lodge. And who was the governor then? He is the vice president currently. Then also, a former deputy governor of CBN, who died suspiciously. Nobody knew exactly how he died after he was invited and arrested severally by the DSS, made a revelation that a governor, a serving governor then, was one of those who is funding Boko Haram. So the analysis that was made by the professor that lives in US, is correct politically. The reason why you have terrorism as if it is domiciled in the Northwest and North Central is that the Northwest is not too far away from the zone of armed smuggling. You can smuggle arms from Niger Republic, from Chad, even weapons that are coming in from the lawless Libya. They all come in through Sokoto, through Zamfara, through Katsina. Then from the northeast, you also have those routes where they bring in arms. Then North Central is not very far away from Northwest. When they say North Central, you think maybe they're far apart. They're not. The Northwest, okay, let me give you an instance. Kaduna State has a border with Niger State. Niger State has so many borders with a lot of other states. So if you have terrorists who are based in the Northwest state of Zamfara or Kaduna or Katsina, if the army is having issue with them, if they're having confrontation, they can escape from the Northwest and come into North Central. And once they get into North Central, which is around Niger State or Nasarawa State, they're not far away from Abuja. And remember, Nigerians, we have very short memory. Nigerians have forgotten that even Abuja was invaded not too long ago. Yeah, like a year before the immediate past failed administration exited. Abuja was invaded by terrorists, over 600 terrorists who were riding on motorbikes, and people, they were unable, the whole armed forces were unable to stop them. They invaded Abuja, went to Kuje prisons, Kuje minimum security prison, bombed the place, released a lot of prisoners, more than 1,000 plus, and to date, the security forces have not been able to recapture all of them. A lot of them are in Abuja here with us. So, and some of them have gone back to go and they rejoin those their gangs in other parts of the country, Northwest. That is why you have a lot of these issues. And because, just like what the professor said, because of religious consideration or political consideration, he said something about criticisms of the army, the way they have been high-handed against terrorists. It was during the regime of Goodluck Jonathan when an Igbo man was the chief of army staff, and that was the first Igbo man to be chief of army staff in the last, since Nigeria became independent in 1960. So that chief of army staff was put under terrible blackmail by political elites from the north. And one of them, one of the key actors who antagonized that chief of army staff for the way he was actually going out ruthlessly against those terrorists from the northeast, eventually became the president of Nigeria. So Nigeria is not a very serious country. When you have people who seems to be on the side of, or who are sympathetic, or who was even named. Remember, Buhari was named as a mediator by Boko Haram when the government was trying to mediate whether there could be a kind of negotiation. They named him as their mediator. I'm not saying he's part of Boko Haram or whatever, but he was very critical against the government's effort to rid the country of those kinds of elements based on religious issues, because he was actually gunning to become the president of Nigeria. And he needed
Mr. Owubiko, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but we're pressed for time. Let me move to Professor Folarin. Now, Professor Folarin, just quickly, many are suggesting that, this current administration in its fight against insecurity, even though they have recorded some degree of progress, many of the opinion that the service chiefs are not doing enough. Some have even said that they should be replaced. What is your take?
Well, you see, first let me give credit to the Nigerian military. I know that the Nigerian military is still one of the best in Africa, the 4th best, and the 39th best in the world, or ranked 39th in the world. And I believe that for Nigeria to get to that level, it must be that there must have been some kind of, a very visionary and capable military leadership, that is taking charge of it and things like that. But unfortunately, things have not been right at home. Now, you see, there is something that we must understand, and this is in agreement with what HURIWA is saying. You see, there is this saying in Africa, particularly among our people in Nigeria, that if whatever pests that is eating a vegetable will definitely be pest within the vegetable, and you don't have to look for the pest from outside. Nigeria is the architect of its own problem. Now, you see, until we get to the root of the matter, we're talking about political, religious, and then ethnic dimensions to Nigeria's security or insecurity, issues. Until we get to the root of this, no matter if you put the brightest soldiers, the brightest military officers, in position, there will always be sabotage, there will always be circumvention, there will always be some kind of working behind. And you see, let me tell you this: no matter how sound the military leadership may be, if there's no political will and there's incompetence, as HURIWA has mentioned, on the part of maybe this time around, let me look at it from the point of view of the leadership, not necessarily military leadership, but the political leadership. And there's mediocrity that reigns, where you are considering people on ethnic basis, considering people on a religious basis, considering people on a kind of political partisanship basis to give them appointments, juicy ones as Minister of Defense, Minister of State for Defense, people that had failed even as governors become Minister of State for Defense, until we address these issues fundamentally, particularly political dimensions to it, we will continue to be in a circle, an endless one. I have been privileged to have, been teaching senior military officers for the past 4 to 5 years in an East African country. Okay, I go there every twice a year, and I kind of I teach them. I have some of the brightest military officers, probably from Nigeria. They come to that particular, command and staff college, and I have seen that year in, year out, Nigerian military guys have been the best. Even this year, this last May, I was in East Africa. I deliberately don't want to mention any particular name or the school's name. Now, a Nigerian military officer became the overall best, among all of them. That shows that there's something about the military which is.
Professor, just in 30 seconds. So are you saying that in terms of the knowledge, in terms of the technical capability, the officers are there, but what exactly seems to be the missing link here?
The missing link is that the officers only take instructions from the commander-in-chief and from, anyone who is they take instructions from the political leadership. And they cannot do beyond what the political leadership, instructs them to do. So if you are going to talk about incompetence, trace it to the political leadership, the political elite. Trace it to the ethnic leaders that have also, they are in a marriage of convenience with the political leadership. Trace it to the religious leaders who also are in a marriage of convenience with the political leadership. Because you see these three, they are always together. And then there's something fundamentally, wrong in terms of there's the fundamental thing that we need to mention, and that's the fact that the economic dimension of the whole thing. Now, you see, security problem in Nigeria has become a very big industry. And it's a big industry in the political leadership. We cannot, place our hands on exactly who is who. They know themselves. Then we also can trace it to some elements in the military that are also making big money. We've had cases of chief of defense staff in the past, chief of, air staff in the past, who were kind of making big deals under the Jonathan administration, making a lot of money. We have had, persons in the religious circle that have come to say, look, let's negotiate on behalf of the government with the bandits. So it's big business, man. Everybody is trying to kind of, just see where they can lay their hands in the pie, in the so-called national cake.
Professor Folarin, thank you so much. Yes. I'm sorry, but we are pressed for time. Quickly, before we go, let me have your take on this, Mr. Emmanuel Owubiko.
Oh, thank you very much. What we need to do, just like what the Prof said, is that we need to first and foremost think about merits when we're going to go give appointments. The president of the country, particularly the current president, is a statesman. He needs to think like a statesman, not as an ethnic, champion. You want to appoint you have to appoint the most competent person. It is true that there are saboteurs, but if you have competent people heading the army, heading the police, not people that are appointed because they are either Yoruba or because they're Igbo or because they're Hausas, you appoint the best brains, they'll be able to fish out saboteurs because the saboteurs are right inside the army. The generals that are sabotaging the war against terror are right inside the military institutions. As you have now read in the media, why two of the most important intelligence chiefs were booted out by President Tinubu, it was because they said they were undermining the war on terror. So saboteurs, those who are sabotaging the army, those who are aiding and abetting smuggling of arms and ammunition, people like those who are in the customs, those who are in the immigration, who are allowing those kind of weapons to come into Nigeria, and those who are in charge of the border security, who haven't made any effort to introduce to introduce technology-driven solution to border security. Our borders are very porous, and they are porous for obvious reasons, because the leadership, those who are in the political elites from the north, are actually benefiting from the porous border, because a lot of things come into Nigeria that are not actually accounted for in terms of smuggling of goods and so many things. Individuals come in during elections, people come in from Niger Republic, and they come in, immediately they come in because they speak the same language with people from the north. They participate in the elections, they are given INEC registration cards, and they participate in the elections because the northerners are actually benefiting from it. That is why we have not really taken any serious move to secure our borders. We need to secure our borders. I'm not just saying borders that links to Chad, Niger, even borders that links to Cameroon from the other side of the south.
Sorry, but I mean, just to of course, get to hit the nail on the head before we go on this break. By securing our borders, what exactly do you suggest as a workable strategy?
A workable strategy that I suggested, I was a member of a presidential committee on restoration of peace in the north during the Jonathan administration, and I suggested to that committee, high-level committee appointed by the president, that we should consider erecting fence, walls, just like how the Israelis did between themselves and the Palestinians. And they said, no, it's not going to be possible because some northerners, like even Buhari himself, who was the president of this country, his grandfather or his grandmother is from Niger Republic, and his community is not too far away from Niger Republic, just a stone throw.
So they turned down your suggestion because they turned down your suggestion because they felt that they have relatives on the other side, or they are related.
Yeah, they have relatives on the other side, and they said it's not possible because how do you want us? If I now want to see my grandmother, I have to now begin to take excuse for somebody to cross. Now the way they cross into Nigeria from Niger Republic, you need to even send reporters to go there. If you have reporters in Sokoto, they should go and see it. It's just like it's not even the way you travel from Lagos to Ibadan, which is a bit far. It's as easy as you traveling from Oshodi to Mushi. That's how it is. So it's quite easy for somebody from Niger Republic to cross into Nigeria from that place, because it is just the distance is just from Oshodi to Mushi, and there's no security. The border is just like one drum that you just put in between the two countries. We're not serious about our border security, and if a country cannot secure her border, the country has lost her right to sovereignty. That's why America is having problem around the Mexican border, because they are not really taking measures.
All right, Mr. Owubiko, we really need to go on a quick break. You've made a point here saying that Nigeria might just need to build a wall around itself to secure its borders. But when we return, we'll also look at a very important issue, which is the issue of ransom for payment and the talks around self-defense. We'll go on a quick break. When we return, of course, we'll pick up from there. Stay with us.